passed on this march. The slope of these stream beds trended south-east and south. In the middle of this scorching plain stood the villages of Bihawana, almost undistinguishable from the extreme lowness of the huts, which did not reach the height of the tall bleached grass which stood smoking in the untempered heat. Our camp was in a large boma, about a quarter of a mile from the Sultan's temple. Soon after arriving at the camp, I was visited by 3 Wagogo, who asked me if I had seen a Mgogo on the road with a woman and child. I was about to answer, very innocently, yes, when Mabruki, cautious and watchful always for the interests of the master, requested me not to answer, as the Wagogo, as customary, would charge me with having done away with them, and would require their price from me. Indignant at the imposition they were about to practise upon me, I was about to raise my whip to flog them out of the camp, when again Mabruki, with a roaring voice, bade me beware, for every blow would cost me 3 or 4 doti of cloth. As I did not care to gratify my anger at such an expense, I was compelled to swallow my wrath, and consequently the Wagogo escaped chastisement. We halted for 1 day at this place, which was a great relief to me, as I was suffering severely from intermittent fever, which lasted in this case 2 weeks, and entirely prevented my posting my diary in full, as was my custom every evening after a march. The Sultan of Bihawana, though his subjects were evil disposed, and ready handed at theft and murder, contented himself with 3 doti as honga. From this chief I received news of my 4th caravan, which had distinguished itself in a fight with some outlawed subjects of his. My soldiers had killed 2 who had attempted, after waylaying a couple of my pagazis, to carry away a bale of cloth and a bag of beads. Coming up in time, the soldiers decisively frustrated the attempt. The Sultan thought that if all caravans were as well guarded as mine were, there would be less depredations committed on them while on the road, with which I heartily agreed. The next Sultan's tembe through whose territory we marched, this being on the 30th of May, was at Kididimo, but 4 miles from Bihawana. The road led through a flat elongated plain, lying between 2 lengthy hilly ridges, thickly dotted with the giant forms of the baobab. Kididimo is exceedingly bleak in aspect. Even the faces of the Wagogos seemed to have contracted a bleak hue from the general bleakness around. The water of the pits obtained in the neighbourhood had an execrable flavour, and 2 donkeys sickened and died in less than an hour from its effects. Man suffered nausea and a general irritability of the system, and accordingly revenged himself by cursing the country and its imbecile ruler most heartily. The climax came, however, when Bombay reported, after an attempt to settle the Muhongo, that the chief's head had grown big since he had heard that the Musungu had come, and that its bigness would not be reduced unless he could extract 10 doti as tribute. Though the demand was large, I was not in a humour, being feeble and almost nerveless from repeated attacks of the Mukunguru, to dispute the sum, consequently it was paid without many words. But the Arabs continued the whole afternoon negotiating, and at the end had to pay 8 doti each. End of chapter 7, part 1.